You're watching Enterprise Nation TV with O2 Business.
Where did Ella's Kitchen come from, the idea?
Well, the idea for Ella's Kitchen came really from two places, I suppose. First of all, I had my baby, Ella, my first child, and we'd been through all the experiences of trying to get her to wean, and I used fun and games, silliness, mess, that sort of thing to get her to open her mouth and pop the spoon in. And I figured out that if parents used fun and silliness to help their children eat, not breaking news, but it's what I tried, and it works. But in my professional life, I was working at Nickelodeon, and we had spent so many years understanding children. I've been to so many focus groups, but I really understood how children develop, how they think, how they relate to brands. But most importantly, I was aware that in our society we've got a real problem with our children's health, and that about 20% of them are overweight or obese, and it's getting worse. So I thought if we could bring fun, mix it with healthiness, and try and address a social problem, I could create a business and a brand that would fly, and that's what I did, and it's thankfully taken off. But I think it's taken off because we had a mission. That mission, to start with, our mission has sort of been formalised into improving children's lives by developing healthier relationships with food. That's, I guess, the seed of the moment I had in my personal life and my professional life that I thought a business could solve.
So once you had the idea, though, what were your first steps you did to make it happen? Because you were at Nickelodeon, so
Yes.
It's a very different thing.
First thing I did, I guess, was, and I think I'm unusual in this, I had the idea of what my brand would stand for. These are the rules around the brand, these are the values it's going to have, without knowing really what product we'd have. And but once I'd got, this is what this business is going to stand for, I found the packaging that defined us and disrupted the whole industry by using. I obviously put my business plan together. I'm an chartered accountant by training, so I knew how important that was. And I knew from bits of advice that I'd had that I'd got my perfect business plan there. I should halve the revenues, double the costs, and double the time it takes to get paid, and see if it any way works then to have the confidence to go forward. But they're the first two things, and once I'd sort of done that in evenings and weekends, I thought, okay, you've got an idea, I think it can fly. Are you brave enough to hand your notice in and go on this adventure? And I sort of thought, I am. I talked to my wife about how much money we had free or we could invest. It was a relatively small amount to get the business to a point where we had a product and we pitched into supermarkets. But at that point then was the real decision. One of the supermarkets said yes, and I had to find the money, and we remortgaged our house and crossed our fingers, was confident that we'd thought through everything and went for it.
Right, I think I read in another interview you did you say it was about 500 emails, because it was Sainsbury's, wasn't it, first, to get through to that, and a lot of our members are pitching to retail buyers, so do you want to talk through that process of getting them to say yes? Yeah.
Well, you've got to go into it with a few things in your mind. First of all, I suppose the confidence that if and when they do accept a meeting, there's a real reason they want to meet you, and you've got that. The ball's in your court. You should have the confidence that they want you for that meeting. So go in confident, go in and pitch yourself, don't delegate it to anybody else, because I think you'll understand your business more than anybody else, and you'll give the passion over to why you're doing this. I think you want to really do your research and listen to what your potential customer is about. What are their values? What are their business objectives? Why is this buyer? What's motivating this buyer? Is it that what's their bonus going to be around, you think? So do all of that sort of research so that you're not doing a generic pitch, the same one to each different customer. You're listening to them and you're adapting your pitch to address the things that you know that they're going to be concerned about. And I would say be creative in the fact that you want them to remember you out of the tens or hundreds of people they see that month, that when they go to their boss and say, I've said something interesting, it resonates. So be memorable, be authentic, be creative, be confident.
So once you've done all of that and you've succeeded, because you said there was so much ethics behind your brand, you were very clear on that. Did you have sort of any concerns now it was going to go into this big corporate retailer? were you sort of worried that there'd be any they wouldn't potentially? I know it's up to the owner of the brand to communicate that, but they'd get lost in the corporateness maybe.
I didn't worry about that because I felt very confident that those mission-led ideas that I had were one of the reasons why they saw us as different, and they wanted us to keep that. I think you've got to be confident in and determined, stubborn almost, that if they don't like what you're saying or it's not quite cutting through, that you don't really compromise, because you're throwing away your point of difference if you do. Whether you compromise on they're giving you a deal that doesn't margins or kind of financially doesn't quite work for you, don't do it. Don't be seduced by the fact there's a massive big retailer that could get you out there, because that will just make, if the margins don't work, it means bigger losses rather than smaller losses the bigger that they are. And really, you're not going to get a better deal than your first deal. So be stubborn and hold out for the deal, but also be stubborn and hold out for this is why I set this business up. I think it's really important that stories and authenticity of the why of a business from a startup, from an entrepreneurial business comes through, because really, just like your investors, I think those buyers are buying into you, and you going in very cold with numbers that work, I think it needs something on top of that for them to take the risk. The numbers might work, but they are more likely to work with the passion and the tenacity that this person has got behind it. But do remember, at the end of the day, your mission and your values and everything are important to you and your ultimate consumer. The retailers really are looking at margin first, and it's got to work for everyone on a margin basis. And they can delist, they do delist if it's not selling, no matter how socially impactful you think your business is going to be. It is a business at the end of the day for everyone.
So once you got in there, and then the business was starting to grow, how did the challenges change? That you had in the early days, but as the theme of this conference today is scale up. So what were your scale up challenges that you dealt with?
Well, I think scaling up is not a straight line. It's a series of steps where fundamental things have to change, whether that's your mindset about where your business is going or processes and systems and things. One of the things I talk about today are some of those steps. So one of the first ones is existence, really. You've had an idea in your head, and then one day you make one sale to one customer and it's going, and that's a tremendous moment. That's almost a scale-up thing. It's happening. Then the survival, you've got to repeat that. You've got to find a new customer. You've got to make sure your supply chain can do multiple things. You make sure your factory or your talent or whatever can grow as you're growing. Survival is the next thing. Then you've got to think about your margins and make sure that it's a sustainable business, and that that the volume plus your margins can cover your overhead and some profit. And that's a real challenge for some people. Where's the next bit of investment coming from? How long is it to break even? Those sort of things really got to go. But then I think the more proper scalable ones, once you've got a business that is sustainable, really around implementing structures and processes, people policies, those sort of things, which to some entrepreneurs are a bit of an anathema, because you like to be free-flowing, but at some point you've got to formalize things. Otherwise the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. You go off down blind alleys, you repeat things in your business, and it's all inefficient. And efficiency is absolutely key to be a successful scale-up business. And then once you've got those things in place, there are things like the entrepreneur, the founder, standing back. That's a seminal point, I think, in scaling up. Your skill set might not be right for a mid-sized business or a public company or something if you're growing that fast. And being able to have a succession plan, employ people that are more talented than you in many areas, work with them as a team, but also have the confidence to stand back, let the team make their own decisions, is a really seminal point. And I know many entrepreneurs find a challenge in that. And after that, there's consistent challenges going on, but it's a series of steps. New IT system, that's going to cost you a chunk of money that isn't just spread over a time period. You've got to decide, we're growing so fast, that is in place. Employee benefits, there's all sorts of things that come in steps that you've really got to think about. But I think it's the structures, processes, and the entrepreneur working out, now's the time to stand back and let the whole team take this forward as important seminal points.
And we mentioned succession and exit. So when you sold the business to the bigger company, why did you make that decision, and how tough was making that decision that now was the time for that kind of big move? So
the why really is around, we had this hugely growing business, fantastic. We were in 40 countries around the world. It really started in America, really, where we had a growing business, but we had fast copying, fast inspired competition who were more private equity backed and prepared to get distribution, get market share at the expense of profitability, is the way I thought about it. And what do I do about that? Because I owned my business more or less completely. Do we come out of America? Do we risk our profits in the UK and the rest of the world and push on and play their game? What do we do? Or the alternative was to find a partner in America. And that's the beginning of a long story to the people that we got and I sold to. And really, as I went on that journey, the way I comforted myself was thinking about it as a horse race, really, and that with jumps to go over, and they're all around the word value. So first of all, do the people I'm engaged with, might sell to, have the same values as me? Because it's really important, the mission to our business and the impact that we can make. That's the primary reason that we make money. Do they believe that? Second thing was, are they going to pay the right value for the business, and can we overlap there? And then the third thing is, what added value are they going to give to the business, and how do we help it grow, say in America, but in other parts of the world, and how does this business scale even further? And then I guess finally, my personal challenge was my daughter's name's on our brand. So how can I protect that brand? I wanted to work and continue to do today, work with the business. How can I be comfortable that I've lost all control, legal control of the business? How do I feel that I can still influence the business going forward? So my daughter, when she has her babies, many years' time, is proud of the product and the brand at that time.
Brilliant. And just finally, because I know you've got to move on, but you've now written all about this in a book. So do you want to sort of talk about your book and what you're trying to achieve with the book and the message that you've given?
So it's really my learnings from Ella's Kitchens, little wins. It's about huge power of thinking like a toddler. So toddlers have been our heroes, as me as a father, and seeing my children develop and being absolutely inspired by the different development stage they go through. But also toddlers and babies are obviously our Ella's Kitchen core consumers, and my whole world of understanding the fantastic skills that toddlers have that we can learn from as adults was a starting point. Then the realization that actually I had those skills at one point. I learned to walk and to talk and to play. I learned to smile. I had the confidence and the creativity and the honesty and the playfulness and the ambition and the determination, all of these things that toddlers excel at, and we tend to forget and we tend to conform as adults. So I put all of these things together in a book that is really about unlocking people's personal potential, not for them to learn new things, but to rediscover skills that they once had. And I think we can have a better personal, professional and society world by being more creative and confident. All these skills that we had, that we learned, when we got a crayon and drew something that was out of our own head, when we consistently asked the question why, and discovered the world, when we fell over 500 times as we learned to walk, and we had the tenacity to get up and the belief that one day we would work. All of those things for an entrepreneur starting on a world, you're going to fall over way more than you're going to pick yourself up. You're going to have to find that creativity, to find that difference that you are to your next startup competitor or to the big guys you're trying to compete against. And all of those things, you can get inspiration from yourself, because you were once that person who had all of those skills. That's what it is. Richard Branson very kindly wrote the foreword to this, and he identified that everything he's done throughout Virgin's life was thinking like a toddler, and he's got his grandchildren now that he gets inspired by. So, and it's done very well, but really, I guess thinking like a toddler to me is just rediscovering that imagination, that free thinking, that self-confidence we all once had, that we need perhaps in spades, especially for an entrepreneur, but in our private lives, in our relationships, and balancing things in our society, how we get away from the uncertainty and some of the difficult things that we have. We need new solutions. Thinking like a toddler can get there.
Paul, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.